Hey guys, today I'm going to be talking to you about health and policy in the country Uruguay. My name's Matt Fiore. So for a little introduction, Uruguay is pictured here, bordered by Argentina and Brazil, and it is the smallest country in South America. They operate by both public and private health insurance, but most citizens elect to do a mutualista, where you pay all payments up front to the hospital. So first I'm going to talk to you about population health, specifically infant mortality. In Uruguay, the rate is 8.3 deaths per 1,000 births, which ranks them 150th in the world. They are experiencing the lowest rate of infant mortality in history. And a research group called Project Muse found that socioeconomic status was a main factor in infant mortality. In the US, the rate is 6.1 deaths per 1,000 births. This sounds good, but for wealthy countries, it really is not that good. And the reasoning behind that, I think, is because of socioeconomic status as well. For example, Alabama, the state in the US, alone had a rate of 9.1 deaths per 1,000 births. So here you see the steady trend in Uruguay of infant mortality decreasing. Here we are in 2017. On the bottom you see United States compared to all other wealthy countries, and they are significantly higher in infant mortality rates. Next, I have out-of-pocket healthcare spending. So in Uruguay, more than half of healthcare spending, private healthcare spending, is out of pocket. And this is only going to increase. The reasoning behind this, in my opinion, is that the mutualista, because the mutualista concerns tests, visits, and surgeries, but the catch is there's a small copay for each one. In the US, only 21.4% is out of pocket, which I think is due to Medicare and Medicaid. As you can see here, out-of-pocket spending decreases as Medicare and Medicaid increase since 1965 when it was implemented. Now, for healthcare systems, I'm going to talk about prenatal care in the first or second trimester. In Uruguay, 90% of women receive prenatal care during the first or second trimester, which ranks them 65th in the world, which is very good for a middle-income country. In US, 96.4% receive prenatal care in the first or second trimester, ranking them 61st in the world. Various policies surround this, but I think these policies need to target low-income populations more. I believe Uruguay's numbers are so good because the Millennium Goal on Maternal Health, which is a plan that improves mainly all aspects of maternity and ties into prenatal care. Now for public health prevention, this is my favorite topic to talk about. I'm going to specifically talk about tobacco prevention in Uruguay. In 2005, the World Health Organization set up a framework surrounding these tobacco laws in Uruguay. This includes 100% smoke-free areas in many places, tax hikes, increases in warnings, and etc. And I think this has had direct results because people are thinking more about the harms of smoking. Uruguay, in fact, led the world in tobacco prevention last year. For the US, it still remains the leading preventable cause of death. The FDA and American Lung Association have policies on this, but is still not have 100% smoke-free areas. So I'd like to highlight, this is the 80% increase in pictorial warnings on smoking packages in Uruguay. For the US, many states have smoke-free laws, but still not all of them, as in Uruguay. Next, we have physical environment, and I'm specifically going to talk about water contamination. In Uruguay, 94% of rivers suffer from water contamination, which is their primary source of water. This led to 30% of children having excess lead in their system. The Santa Lucia River, which is where 60% of people get their water, is contaminated too. And I think this is from their economy of farming and production industries which dump waste into the rivers. As for the US, they have a Safe Water Act set up by the EPA, which led to relatively clean water all over. However, in 2014, Flint, Michigan changed their water supply, leading to lead contamination, which is still not fixed. Here are all the rivers in Uruguay, which is where they get their water, and here's the lead-contaminated water in the US. Next, we have access to mental health care, which is a big problem in both Uruguay and the US. Undergraduate training in mental health in Uruguay is a mere 26.66 per 1,000 students. I don't think mental health is being taken serious enough in Uruguay because they have a policy, but the policy requires no inspections of mental hospitals. Only 7% of funding goes into mental health, but it is all towards those mental hospitals that are uninspected. Added to that, there has been no research conducted in Uruguay on any aspects of mental health in the last 5 years. Now for the US, we have a similar shortage of health professions. 56% of people who have a mental illness go untreated. But for the positive side, 67% of facilities accept Medicare payment. So here in Uruguay is the shortest of psychiatrists, and here in the US is 14.63 per 100,000 of the population of psychiatrists, both pretty short. So finally, we have social and economic environment, and I'm going to talk to you about unemployment. So here, Uruguay and the US are polar opposites. In Uruguay, 9.31% are unemployed, and there's only an increasing trend in the rate of unemployment. That leads to 9.7% of Uruguay's population under the poverty line, which is the highest rate of unemployment in the last 5 years. In the US, they have a trend of decreasing unemployment rates with just 4.10% of people unemployed. This is cut in half since 2011 when the rate was 9.2. I think Uruguay's economy of agriculture and exports leads to this shortage and unemployment rate. US has a mixed economy in the world's largest economy, which gives a bunch of the citizens jobs. So in conclusion, the US and Uruguay have many key similarities where lack of policy leads to bad statistics. However, Uruguay is improving in infant mortality, prenatal care, and leading the world in tobacco prevention. They could improve areas like out-of-pocket spending, clean water, mental health, and their unemployment rates. So now, if there's a couple things that I want to stick with you, I want you to remember 3 things. 1, Uruguay and the US need mental health improvements in all aspects where I think policy can make a big change. 2, Uruguay's economy of agriculture and export can explain their water contamination, their lack of mental health professions, and their unemployment rate. And finally, I think you need to know that policy leads to improvement, as seen throughout this presentation, especially with infant mortality and tobacco prevention. Thank you guys.